Yeah, this thing's definitely gonna need a cleanup. So the next thing I need to do is build a screen rack. I need 2 of them. I'm gonna cut this thing in half and make 2 9-screen racks. 9 screens, fine for me. I'm gonna put one over here in the darkroom, one under here next to the washout. I'm not pumping out a lot of screens. I'm a one-man band. You know, that 9 screens is lots for now. I picked up this pan rack off of Facebook Marketplace for 50 bucks. And she's a little bit dirty, but it'll clean up, no problem. And the problem with them is that they're only 18 inches wide on the inside. So I did see a video where a guy took some old screen parts and he modified it. It worked for him. My deal is I want to make it
24 1/4
inches wide on the inside so that it can hold not only the 20 by 24 screens, but the 23 1/2 by 31s. And I'll have one going one way, one going the other way. It'll work. So I went out and bought the aluminum square tubing. It's 1-inch square tubing. It's really common, not that expensive. Don't buy it from Home Depot. You'll go broke. Look up like a metal supermarket, or there's lots of metal stores around. You can find this stuff for cheap. So yeah, so everything all said and done, the stuff to hold it together, the tubing, the rack, right around $200.
So to make 2 racks, I need 8 24 1/4 inch pieces. Of course, these come in 8-foot lengths, so I had to get 3 pieces. And I'm just cutting them up on an old chop saw that I have here with a metal blade on it.
Okay, there will be some slag left over. It won't be very pretty. You'll want to get rid of it. You can use a file. I'm going to use a file for the inside, but for the outside I have this handy dandy sander here, so I'm just going to use that. Okay, I have my 4 pieces, and what I'm going to use to hold them together is just this 1/4 inch coil rod. It's a threaded rod, and 1/4 inch is plenty. I don't think there's any need to go any bigger or any more expensive.
Now, I only did this on this particular rack. I put these little furniture doodads. I'm not even sure what they're called, but I bolted these on and they fit perfectly inside the square tubing. And my theory is that they will help keep the square tubing in place. And there we go. That's just a 20-inch box fan back there that I've zip tied into place. It's not going anywhere. Nice plywood top for rigidity. This thing is so strong now, I don't have a problem putting anything on this lid. This is where it lives, right next to the washout. Clean the screens, throw them in there. Fan blows a ton of air. When it's pushed back like that, the fan is still 6 inches off the wall, so it blows good. The next rack is going to be incorporated into a drying cabinet. It's going to have a heater, fans, a dehumidifier, a control panel to run the whole thing, and darkness. Lots and lots of darkness. So what I'm doing is I'm actually building the box onto this rack.
So I'm attaching these 1 by 3/4 pieces here to the rack itself so that the plywood will screw into these. The reason I'm doing that is so that I have a substantial gap around the frame so that when the fans are blowing, there's lots of room for air to blow around. Okay, I'm building this box out of 3/4 inch plywood. It's way overkill, but you know what? I got the plywood for free. And when you're trying to build stuff on the cheap, free is the best price. Okay, it's starting to take shape. Of course it's going to be wibbly warbly, you nut. You still have 3 more pieces of plywood to put on. And the floor's probably not level. This is the reason why you can't be left unsupervised. All right, jumping ahead here, it's a box and it has a door on it now. What I'm going to start doing now is drilling holes. The first hole is a 4-inch hole for a fan. This is the exhaust fan that'll be hooked up to the humidifier circuit. And when the humidity gets too high, the circuit turns on and kicks this fan on. And I even have this sweet little dryer vent kicking around I've had forever. I never did use it. I was going to use it, replace my dryer vent. I never did. So screw it. I'll use it for the box. The next hole I'm going to cut here is the input hole. This is actually a big square hole that's going to fit a filter. Now all it is a car air filter. It's a little square air filter. I think I paid $12 for it off of Amazon. It'll be fine. Now there is some unnecessary plastic doodads on this filter that have to get trimmed off. I mean, I guess I could have notched the plywood, but it's easier just to grind the little things off. And then there we go. Fits like a charm. It fits in there pretty good, but I still put a couple of screws in there just to hold it secure. The fan is only 5.5 inches round, and the filter is approximately 7 by 7. I had to build this kind of mounting bracket kind of idea. And because the plywood is only 3/4 of an inch thick, and the filter is 7/8, I had to fur it out with this 1/4 inch plywood right here. It was a whole lot of work, but I'm pretty happy with the results, and it seems to work good. So I'm just going to give it a quick test, and then I'm going to go out to the garage and build the control panel that's going to control this whole box. Okay, this is some 1/8 inch aluminum that I have left over from a solar box that I built last year. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to blast through this because this isn't the main focus of the video, but I still wanted to include it. So I'm going to fast forward through it, and I'll see you at the other end. All right, and there we go. Okay, this wiring probably took, I don't know, maybe 4 hours because I did it over the course of 3 days after work. And that is the motor controller, the speed controller for the fan. All right, and here it is in all its finished glory. It's made out of 3/4 inch form ply. I got this cool black stuff off a job I was on. Thank you to that person for giving me that sheet so I could finish this. it's almost bomb-proof. This thing is heavy, but it will last. The hinge for the door is a hinge that I took off of the lid of the road case that I used to build my exposure unit. I'll be bringing that down later. But if you haven't seen that video, you can check that out right there. That's another thing that I built for this project. The latch, it's just a $20 Amazon latch. It works great. I mean, I could get picky about the 1/16 of an inch of gap there, but there is no sun getting in there. The sun doesn't even reach this box. That's kind of why I picked this corner. So it's as dark as you could ask for. I guess I'll just jump straight into the control panel. The control panel works exactly the way it's supposed to. Everything works. The main switch is here at the bottom. That turns everything on. The two switches in the middle, one is a dehumidifier switch. It just turns the dehumidifier on. So far, it's just always on. This red switch here is the bypass for the heater. The heater is actually controlled by this thermostatic control right here, but I found that it only turns on at a certain point and turns off at a certain point. There's kind of, if it's above the turn on point, it doesn't turn on for some reason. It has to come down to that point to turn on. So I'm still kind of playing with it. So for now, I just put this bypass switch in, or I've got it hooked up to this switch so it can be bypassed. The other side is relative humidity, and it controls this 4-inch axial fan back here. I have it set to turn on at 40%, turn off at 30%. I would like to get it down lower, but so far the fan is always on. So that needs to be played with a little bit, and we'll see what happens. Right now I have no problem keeping the relative humidity at about 30%, but we're getting on summer here. As soon as it starts raining, the relative humidity in this room jacks up to 60. So we'll see how that all works. That little dehumidifier that I have in there, and I don't think it's really going to cut it, but in combination with the fan, you know, maybe I can keep it fairly dry in there. We'll see. The top switch here is for my safety light. I have a safety light within my exposure unit, but that's just added bonus for ambiance. And the top controller here, that's a speed controller for this fan. It was left over from another project, and I kind of thought that maybe this fan might need to get dialed down a little bit. But as it turned out, I just let it run full blast. So it's there for looks now. So I have to reclaim some screens. We'll get some screens in it and see how it does full of wet screens. Okay, it sort of dawned on me that I didn't really show you the inside, so I will. Heater, dehumidifier. I'm still on the fence about that dehumidifier. That may have been a waste of money. I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. You can see the 1 3/4 gap between the rails and the wall, both sides. So lots of air is going to move around. And that's the sensor for the thermostat and the humidity. And I got a little backup guy in the back there just so I can monitor it. Yeah, I'm really happy with this box. It's exactly what I wanted, and it wasn't all that spendy. Okay, I just wanted to show you the watts here. This is everything going except the safety light. The safety light was 1 more watt than that. Under 500 watts to run this box is pretty good in my eyes. Okay, so it's full of wet screens and the humidity is 39%. I would like to see it a little better, but until I get a compressor type dehumidifier in there, I'll have to accept that. It's not terrible.
and had been a half an hour since I put those in there, and they are all bone dry. So you know what? Completely dry screens in half an hour is pretty good in my books.
Okay, I just wanted to show you this because I didn't want you to be confused. This is the rack that the screens will be going into fresh out of the washout. I just put them in the other box last night just for testing purposes.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take those screens, I'm going to coat them up and throw them in the box and see how long it takes them to dry. The emulsion I'm using is Chromaline's Chroma-Lime, and it's specially designed for these LED boxes. Problem is, or the problem I'm having is that it's almost too fast. It's a fast emulsion for these kind of homemade type LED boxes. Problem is, my exposure time is 5 seconds. There's not a lot of play around room there. I would have been really happy at 30 seconds. That way I can go 5 seconds either way, depending on the film. But 5 seconds is fast. Might as well be a flash bulb. So let's coat up the screens and get on with it. Okay, this is exactly 31 minutes. The relative humidity is down to 34%. I'm liking it. The temperature's at 31. I can't remember what I'm allowing it to go up to, but I'll check that out later. So half an hour, let's see what they're like. It's nice. Okay, I've already determined that that one was dry. Okay, it's just a couple of the really thick drips that aren't dry, but it's dry in the middle, like, Woo. I would expose that. Oh yeah. Yeah, totally bone dry. I would expose that. This is a bit of a thicker one. Oh yeah. I would expose that one as well. So there we go. With the exception of the one on top that has some thick drips that I didn't wipe off, they're all bone dry. If I had to, I would expose those in half an hour. That's amazing. There you go. So you too can build a box of your own. Thanks for watching. I'm going to let it sit for a little longer.
So that's it. That was the last piece of gear I needed to build. My platens are going to show up in 3 days, and then I am going to start rocking and rolling. So until then, I want to thank you for coming by, and take it easy. We'll see you next time.